Ryan Lawrence, who's the Phillies beat writer from PhillyVoice.com, and he's our next guest here on the show. Ryan, good afternoon. How are you, pal?
I'm very good. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you, and we're happy to have you on. Lots of Phillies news, and we'll get to that in just a second. I do want to ask you, because I believe and I'll probably try to paraphrase what I think your quote was, you out Charlie Bucketed Charlie Bucket. How in the heck did you get a ticket to that championship game to watch your Clemson Tigers win? Please tell us that story.
It was impossible. And really, the story won't even do it justice. Like, it was an impossible ticket. That's all I could say. I mean, I went to the championship game last year, same two teams. It was in Phoenix. It was a lot easier to get tickets because no one from either fan base was driving to Phoenix. Well, this year, same two teams, Alabama, Clemson, they can drive to Tampa. So there wasn't really a ticket to be had. I may have saw one person all day, and I got there tailgating at like 11 a.m., that was trying to sell one, and, they were asking for an exorbitant figure. But there were 100 people outside the stadium holding up their hands, with the number of tickets they were looking for, and there was nobody selling. So I knew the odds were, after sitting there or standing there for like a half hour with the saddest people in the world. That's what we were. We were the saddest people in the world. After doing that, for about a half hour, I decided to walk back to the parking lot because I was like, my odds aren't very good here. There's 100 people looking for tickets and nobody selling. So after approaching a few different people in the parking lot for about 15 minutes, still no luck, I was just walking around with my hand raised, one finger in the air, and this group starts walking toward me, and they're like, we have one. And it was like I heard a different language. It was insane. Very brief negotiation. They were really cool people, and I got in. I sat with them. It was a blast.
Didn't have to take out a new mortgage on your property or anything like that. They were fair to you. You heard angelic music like,
Yeah, and I still had a couple $100 in my pocket for, beverages. It was cool. I just kind of was unlucky earlier in the week because a couple of my friends had season tickets, and they got accounted for real quick, and I was just kind of left out. And then, it all worked out very well. And then, obviously, the team won.
Yes. So. Yeah. Let's not bury the lead, right?
No. You know what, though? I've told a couple people that I may have been just as excited to get in that game as I was that we won, for two reasons. One, it was impossible to get in, so just getting in was a crazy thrill. And then number two, I knew we were going to win, like, all week, and that's just not even me being a Clemson alum and a Clemson homer. I just knew it. Like, it all added up to us winning because of the revenge factor, having a veteran quarterback, Alabama not losing in as long as they had. It just all added up to me that we were going to win, so it was great.
Well, I'm up to 3 now. I count you as my Clemson fan/friend. I count my niece. She's going to Clemson right now. She's a freshman down there. And my Uncle Gene played for Clemson way back. I mean, he's in his 70s now, so you can imagine what time that he came through Clemson, and he actually lives in South Carolina now, so I'm sure he watched the game on the television as well. But, of course, your forte, Ryan Lawrence, is Phillies baseball, so I did have to get that Charlie Bucket story. I definitely wanted to hear that, but I do want to hear you've been cranking out copy left and right. I mean, your fingers must be getting a workout here. Is Pete Mackanin, it's official today. I got that in my email. He gets his wish as they add another bat to the lineup. Michael Saunders is going to be a Philly. Tell me about that pickup to go along with Howie Kendrick and how Pete Mackanin's smiling ear to ear.
Well, I think as I just sent out in my tweet just now with the story that, the Phillies last year ranked last in OPS from their right fielders and from their left fielders. So they had the worst corner outfield production in all of baseball. All 30 teams, they had the worst corner outfield production. And at least they had Odubel Herrera in center field. So at least it wasn't all terrible, but most of it was terrible in that outfield. So what they've done, and this is what Pete Mackanin, asked for going into the offseason, was to go get 2 professional hitters, because the offense in general was not very good last year. And, with both Ryan Howard and Carlos Ruiz departing, not only were they looking for veteran leadership a little bit, but also just professional hitters, guys that they can count on to be consistent somewhere in that lineup, and guys that would take the pressure off of some of these younger guys like Michael Franco and as these guys try to develop and on their own in the big leagues, some veteran hitters that the team can lean on. So I think both Kendrick and Saunders kind of fit that bill. I'd say Kendrick's a little bit more of a proven guy, but Saunders is a guy that really the only thing that's held him back is injuries. Last year he played 140 games and was very productive. I think his 815 OPS, I just wrote this. His 815 OPS ranked 10th among American League outfielders, so he made the All-Star team. So he's coming off a very good year. He's only 30. Has power potential, hits from the left-hand side, fits really well into their offense because, they needed a left-handed bat kind of to balance it out a little bit. You can kind of hit him now. I would be surprised if he's not hitting behind Michael Franco. So you have like an Odubel Herrera 3. I'd probably bet Cesar Hernandez 1, Howie Kendrick 2, Odubel Herrera 3, Michael Franco 4, Michael Saunders 5. So that way you have all left, right. There's no back-to-back hitters, and they all fit into those roles really well. If you look at the kind of their career arcs and their talent. So, it's all good. I'm not trying to talk with something saying that this is going to make them a wild card contender or anything, but it certainly improves their offense.
Ryan, focusing closer on Michael Saunders, this is the guy who hit 19 home runs in 2012, hit 24 home runs last year. And you look at those ballparks in Seattle and Toronto, they're much more spacious than Citizens Bank Park. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that this is a guy who's going to have some pop in the stadium.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if he stays healthy, and again, that's the key for anybody, but more so when you have a guy like him who's had some history of injuries. If he stays healthy, it's not a stretch at all to say he hits 30 home runs. If he plays 150 games next year, he should hit 30 home runs easy in this ballpark. But it's easier to say that than to go out and do it too, because I think going into the regular season last year, after we all saw what Michael Franco did in spring training, we all thought he was going to hit 30. Yeah, he came close. He hit 25. But yeah, for sure. I mean, you also have to look at who he's replacing. I mean, last year they had Peter Borges out there, who wasn't known for power, and really wasn't known for his bat at all. He was more of a glove guy. So, they're going in a little bit different direction. But the fact of the matter is this team needs offensive production. And the other thing with both of the deals, with Saunders and Kendrick, is that neither one of these guys, and Kendrick was a trade, but even still, both of these guys aren't locked in beyond this year. So they're not blocking any of these prospects. Once Nick Williams or Dylan Cousins or Roman Quinn, once those guys are ready for the major leagues and tearing it up in the minor leagues, the Phillies can bring those guys up. They can work them into the mix like they did last year with Tommy Joseph. And going into next year, the veterans are gone and the young guys can take over in the regular role. So there's really nothing to not like about either one of those additions.
And looking at both of those additions, how much do you think that either one of those may be involved in the platoon? Because we know that Aaron Altair is a right-handed batter, Saunders is a left-handed batter. Both guys had to play right field. Meanwhile, we know Kendrick, they're sticking him in left field, but he's originally an infielder.
Yeah, but it gives them flexibility with Kendrick. I mean, for example, just say, for instance, that either Tommy Joseph or Michael Franco get hurt. If either one of those guys get hurt, you can move Kendrick into the infield. I think he's played a little bit of third base. Obviously, we know he's played second base. That's where he played most of his career. There's more options there. And sure, yeah, Aaron Altair will be working to the mix. Obviously, did not have a great year last year, and in part, or mostly, because he just wasn't on the field because of the wrist injury. But even when he was on the field, the offense wasn't there. I think he'll be worked into the mix. I think that, there's, when they face left-handers, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Saunders doesn't play and they work Altair in there, as long as Altair's, productive when he is playing. There are options to work different guys in. But yeah, I still think that Kendrick and Saunders weren't brought in to ride the bench. As long as those guys put up the numbers that they've put up in recent years and are productive, those guys are going to play. That's what they want. They want to have a couple of veterans in the lineup every day that they can kind of rely on and kind of take the pressure off everybody else.
Phillies with a couple of procedural moves as we talk with Ryan Lawrence, Phillies beat writer for PhillyVoice.com, and a couple of procedural moves. Galvis to a one-year deal as they avoid arbitration. Then also they settle with Gomez. They're going to negotiate with Hernandez. Maybe talk about some of those moves, Ryan, that the Phillies are able to check off and take care of in detail as they try to wrap all these things up before they head to spring training.
Yeah, those are a couple easy moves that it's just part of baseball off seasons. Is teams have players that are eligible for arbitration, and you kind of have to take care of them one way or the other. This is a lot easier than back in the days when the Phillies had guys like Wirth and Victorino and Ruiz and some bigger names that were arbitration cases, or even Ryan Howard was the biggest one. They actually went to an arbitration hearing with him. It was my first year on the beat and also my 31st birthday, I think it was. I spent outside the Vinoy Hotel, really nice hotel, and I think we got kicked out. They didn't want our the likes of the media hanging around there. But I remember we spent like the longest day in the world outside an arbitration hearing in St. Petersburg, Florida. I guess there could be worse places to spend a February afternoon. But yeah, I mean, just keeping Galvis and Gomez in the fold and getting them to decent contracts for next year. Obviously, it's important. Both had pretty big roles last year. And I think with Cesar Hernandez, the gap is what it is. I think, he's asking for 4.8 and they're, or no, 4 points. I think it's 4.8 and 4.2. Or I think it's the gap's like 4 point. The Phillies are offering $4 million, and I think he's asking for 4.8, something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they meet in the middle, and he signs a 1-year, $4.4 million contract for next year. It's just all whatever. It's not none of this is that really big of a deal. All these guys will be on the team going into the start of the season. It's just kind of just paperwork things and just taking care of contracts, and again, not that big of a deal, but obviously it is important to get everybody under contract.
I celebrated my birthday on Monday. 4 years ago,
Nice.
On my birthday, I was standing outside of high school waiting for Notre Dame coach Brian Kelly to come in and recruit a kid, and I was trying to get him for NBC 40 and get some footage of the fact that the Notre Dame coach was in Galloway Township, and that was the start of my morning. And then, of course, later on, I had to go up to see the new Eagles coach that they had hired, a fellow by the name of Chip Kelly. So, yes, I'm sympathetic to birthdays that are spent in the work mode, where all of a sudden, okay, happy birthday to me, time to go to work. But we're visiting for a few minutes here.
Pete, we're living the dream. We have glamorous lifestyles. Everybody else is just jealous. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, speaking of those glamorous lifestyles, so how many of these, we're talking with Ryan Lawrence from PhillyVoice.com, how many of these winter banquet stops were you in Williamsport, Reading Hotel? Were you, how many of these did you have to go to?
I've skipped that Williamsport one every year because that's just, I live in Jersey, man. Williamsport might as well be
over the river, through the woods, through the tunnel. Yes.
Williamsburg, Virginia, for all I know. I know it's not around the corner. I kind of lucked out a little bit this year. Usually I try to get to at least 2 of the banquets because you don't know. Different guys, someone might say something crazy, or sometimes they spread out the players, so not every player is at the same banquet. So, if you want to talk to Aaron Nola and Roman Quinn, you might have to go to 2 different banquets because one's at one, one's at the other. I went to Reading. So I went to Reading the other night. I talked to Aaron Nola, which I had a story on PhillyVoice.com 2 days ago, and it's still online. And then I also talked to Michael Franco, and I wrote a story about him and how he's improved his conditioning this offseason. He's actually dropped some weight. So that story is also on PhillyVoice.com. And, so then yesterday the Phillies also had players available at the ballpark, so that helped. I don't have to go to Allentown tonight because I was able to talk to Tommy Joseph yesterday, and Pete McCannon was available again yesterday. So it's kind of a easy banquet week. Usually it doesn't happen, but a lot of times you're driving, through snowy or sweet weather, to Allentown or Reading, or but yeah, not as much driving this year, thankfully.
Well, you did reference Aaron Nola, and I can remember I went out as a fan to watch the Phillies play in San Diego, and Aaron Nola was going to pitch, I think, or he had just pitched. I think he pitched against the Padres and pitched a gem. Last season, of course, missed the final 2 months with that right elbow strain. What did he have to say about his progress, and do we think we get the old Aaron Nola back? Do the Phillies get the old guy back that was really on the rise?
It's funny saying old because he's still so young, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, 23.
He's he is sounds like the most confident person ever that he's 100%, that this thing is behind him. And, that's a good thing. I mean, for sure. He rebooted his throwing program after, taking, I guess, 3 months off from throwing at all in October. Said he never felt any pain in October when he threw. He threw off the mound twice toward the end of the month. Then he took a 2-month break, as pitchers normally do, to have an off season, and he began throwing again right after Christmas. So he's been throwing again for a month now, and again, no pain. So, all systems are a go. He expects to join the rest of the pitchers on day one, in drills and throwing off mounds and all that. Now, it'll be another story to get through all of spring training, again, without any bumps. And the only reason I say that with that kind of tone or inflection is that, he had an elbow thing and he never had any kind of surgery for it. So if something's still in there, it wouldn't be shocking if it came back. I mean, obviously we don't want to think that way from a pessimistic point of view and in January. But, you just have to be realistic that I wouldn't feel 100% confident penciling him in to the opening day rotation until he gets through Clearwater. I think they normally make 6 or 7 starts down there, in the Grapefruit League. If he's able to do that, then all systems are go. But you just have to have a little bit lingering doubt, only because he did have an elbow injury. He didn't have surgery. So did the rehab and rest work? Maybe. It could have. But you just have to be cautious, because major league pitchers, we know for every team, these injuries just creep up, and you don't want to say the words that everybody's thinking, Tommy John surgery. But that is something that you at least have to have in the back of your mind, that if June, July rolls around and that happens, this is just a part of baseball. It's unfortunate, and this is why pitching depth is huge. And the Phillies have that. They just traded for Clay Buchholz, and everybody's like, why? They already have all these arms. But as we see every year with every team, look at the Mets last year, just losing pitchers left and right. But that happens to every team. You just lose guys, and they have to deal with pitchers are probably the most what's the word I'm looking for? Fragile position in all sports. I mean, that the arm is just. I mean, that's their moneymaker, and it's just also an unnatural act to throw a baseball that often at that speed. And so this is part of the deal, though. You just have to collect as many young pitchers as you can and hope you can avoid the injury bug.
Sticking with the pitchers, you mentioned Buchholz, you got Nola, we know about Eichhoff. How is this pitching staff, do you think, going to shape up for this season?
Well, again, if everybody's healthy, and again, that's a huge if, because, not even Nola, but any of these guys could have some kind of injuries at some point in spring training or even in early April or whatever. But, I would say if everybody's healthy going into the season, I think it's pretty cut and dried. I think you have Jeremy Hellickson. I'm not putting these guys in any particular order, but you have Jeremy Hellickson and you have Clay Buchholz, so you have the 2 veterans. And then you have Jared Eichhoff, who had a terrific year last year, and you have Vince Velasquez, and you have Aaron Nola. So that's your starting 5. The rest of the guys, I know Jake Thompson was up. I know Zach Eflin was up and made an impression. Even Alec Asher came up and did pretty well. But it's great to have AAA depth, because any one of those guys go down, now you can call up a guy that you feel pretty good about. You're not calling – I hate to pick on names, but, in recent years, the Phillies have had to call up guys that you don't really want to call up, or you're kind of watching it like a scary movie and hoping, watching through your fingers and hoping things go out. Now when you call a guy up, you're confident that this guy's next in line and he's going to, take the baton, and there's, going to be a seamless transition. So, I think right now the starting 5 is pretty cut and dry, but again, back to injuries. It'd be really surprising if we go into May and the Phillies don't have any of those pitchers have any kind of health issues, because, again, that's just the reality of the sport and of that position in particular.
I mean, come on, man. The depth of the team just got hit big blow. Klein going to Japan, right?
Yeah, that's a bummer, man. But I mean, I think did David Buchanan also go to Japan? I think he did. He went somewhere. He left the country too. So I mean, that's kind of what I'm just saying is, like, these guys are a little bit higher caliber prospects than some of the guys that they've had to call up in recent years to join in the rotation. So it's all good, because the more young starting pitching you have, the better position you put yourself in, not only for your own team to do well and to have that depth, but also just it opens up the possibility of trades. If the Phillies are standing where they're standing, in July, and all these pitchers are doing well, and, that they feel like pitcher A, say Ben Lively, is ready for promotion, then, maybe they can talk about trading another guy and getting something back. So, they're in pretty good position, I would say. But again, it's mid-January. Let's temper our optimism a little bit.
By the way, your memory is correct. Buchanan signed with the Tokyo Yolk Swallows.
Oh, the Swallows! Yeah, I got to watch out for them. They had a really good winter.
They're not just in Capistrano, Ryan. They're not just in Capistrano. They're also in Tokyo. We're talking with Ryan Lawrence. You can find him on Twitter at RyanLawrence21. Is be a Phillies beat writer for PhillyVoice.com. You didn't throw out any names, but I will say, to make room for Saunders on the 40-man roster, the Phillies designated right-hander Severino Gonzalez for assignment. So I will throw at least one name out there of some of the past.
A guy that
that was certainly in the crosshairs of awful debuts for the Phillies. It seems like just yesterday I was doing that for Comcast Sportsnet, and he came out and, well, enough about that. We'll close with this. Since
if you want to see those names, real quick though, if you want to see those names, look at the first half of the 2015 season. Some of the guys that made starts for the Phillies. I mean, Kevin Correa is another name.
Right.
It's bad. But anyway, go ahead.
Just so that memory of Severino Gonzalez making his Phillies debut makes me think about when I was doing pre and post games with Ricky Metallico and those guys at CSN. You also have an article up. You're thrilled. Finally, CSN has a new agreement to live stream the games.
Yeah, that's cool. I think as I wrote, I forgot I wrote that. You're right. I feel like I've been writing nonstop this week. But
told you you've been busy.
Yeah, that's good. You get to the off season and it's, at some point you're like, okay, I need something to write. can't make anything up today. Yeah, the live streaming thing's great because it just means wherever you go, as long as you're a subscriber to Comcast or Verizon, you can hop onto an app and watch games live. And, mostly technology has already been ahead of this for a little while now. I mean, I've got a new Comcast box, the X1, I don't know, a year or two ago. And when I go down to spring training, I have my iPad and I can actually access my cable box while I'm down in Florida. Mm-hmm. Even though my cable box is in Jersey, and that's great. So, I can access my DVR, I can record shows, and I can watch them. And so now the Phillies, because of MLB, there's restrictions and so forth. Those restrictions, I guess, have been lifted, or an agreement was made between NBC Universal and Major League Baseball Advanced Media that now you can watch these games live from a mobile device, from your computer, as long as you're logged into your account. And really, you should be. You're paying for that subscription, so it's a no-brainer. It should have already been happening. But yeah, it's just the convenience is great. If you go down the shore, you're visiting friends or whatever, and they don't have cable, you have your iPad. Boom, you can watch the game. So yeah, it's great. It's all about convenience, and we know everybody in the digital age is connected one way or another to their phone or their iPad. So it works to the younger generation too.
Multiple devices running, and Ryan Lawrence is part of that younger generation, so much so that he used his youthful looks to get a ticket to the Clemson National Championship game and got to see his Tigers win it all. Ryan, we love having you on the program, buddy, and I know we'll catch up again soon to find out more about what's going on in the Phillies. Thanks so much for being with us.
Sounds great. Anytime, guys.